Paranoia boss once found himself competing for dual personality in order to be able to monopolize his wife. He secretly decided to wipe out the other personality and Zhang Luoyuo to complete the mission to protect her life. He can only incarnate the gentle popularity strategy of the main personality paranoid tyrant, while incarnate the small refined strategy of the sub-personality pure love husband. As the two personalities continue to rise in favor of each other, until one day the second personality wakes up and finds that the young master has many scars that do not belong to him. The second personality, who mistook herself for a double, hired a private investigator to find out who the adulterer was, even secretly hid the location on the little master's anklet. However, since the two personalities did not share the memory, the master case also found that he often lost his memory once in a while. So he went to a psychiatrist to examine his body, and the doctor told him he had dissociative identity disorder, which is double personality. Fu Tingchuan frowned at the report and asked the doctor if he could directly eliminate the other personality. The doctor said that it is extremely dangerous to rashly carry out personality separation without understanding the second personality. If this behavior is known by the second personality, it may lead to uncontrollable suicidal counterattack, resulting in the final result may be both losses. But when he saw the beautiful Zhang Luoyuo, he became even more agitated. He didn't know when he was not around. Will he also hold him in his arms and do something that only he can do? Boss Fu Tingchuan is worried and crosses the road to Zhang Luoyuo's direction. Just as he was in the middle of the road, a runaway truck suddenly ran straight into him. Fortunately, Zhang Luoyuo, who was not far away, warned him loudly that he had returned to his senses. He turned around and passed by the side of the car. Zhang Luoyuo looked at the fallen boss and was scared to run over to check. Who knew that he had just squatted down to check on the boss' injuries? The ambulance fork turned around again and rushed straight over. Fu Tingchuan saw that the young master was scared silly and quickly held him in his arms. A rollover and another collision to dodge the vehicle at this time. The bodyguards who heard the news also rushed over. Fu Tingchuan forced himself to check on the young master's injuries, but he saw that his face was pale as if he was scared silly. Fu Tingchuan held him tightly in his arms as if he wanted to strangle him into his bones and blood. After the wounds on the body are treated, the hospital will tell the driver that he is a mental patient. However, Fu Tingchuan could not believe that there would be such a coincidence. He asked his subordinates to find out that this mental patient was a new nurse who had been released. According to the nurse's most frequent contact, someone should have bribed him to kill him. However, Fu Tingchuan did not know who he was. Is it him or Luo who killed the self-proclaimed person behind this? Paranoia big guy wanted to cut deep with his wife, but who knows address, but found that his wife actually has a lot of red marks that do not belong to him. Fu Tingchuan was jealous of the traces left behind by the sub-personality in order to avoid the ice-cold gaze of the boss. Zhang Luoyuo decided to find a reason to hide in the toilet. However, after 5 minutes, Zhang Luoyuo stood in front of the toilet and refused to take off her pants. Fu Tingchuan, who was beside him, urged him to hurry to the toilet. Zhang Luoyuo looked at it and tried to discuss letting him go out first. At this moment, how can the sour boss promise him to look you up and down? How can I not do it here? Zhang Luoyuo blushed and wanted to refute, but as the gaze on the side became hotter, he blushed and immediately turned around and walked out. Fu Tingchuan stood in front of him when he reached the door. I met you first. Why are you closer to him now? Zhang Luoyuo denied it, but Fu Tingchuan couldn't believe it. He was jealous when he saw the red marks on his wife's body. Now, he was even angrier when he saw Zhang Luoyuo's ancestor protection deputy personality. Zhang Luoyuo listened to Fu Tingchuan's criticism and felt very wronged. After all, it was Fu Tingchuan's body that caused the problem. He had no one to rely on and came to this world, even every day, to deal with two-personality tired back pain, but now Fu Tingchuan in turn to accuse him. Fu Tingchuan, watching the young master wrong, tears cannot help but become soft. He sighed deeply and then hugged the young master in his arms and comforted him softly. At this moment, the bodyguard sent the gift in. Zhang Luoyuo looked at the open box and saw that it was actually his favorite strawberry cake. Fu Tingchuan cut the cake and handed it to the young master. Zhang Luoyuo ate happily and looked at the satisfied young master. Fu Tingchuan said that after eating his food, he was not allowed to be angry anymore. Zhang Luoyuo said that she had to serve him well. Fu Tingchuan immediately warmed up after listening to him. How can I wait for you? Since you've finished eating the cake, my husband will take you to eat something better. As he said that, he slowly pressed the young master onto the sofa. Zhang Luoyuo felt that the boss was not good and was scared to refuse quickly. Coincidentally, this was the phone on the table ringing like hell. Zhang Luoyuo reached out and grabbed the phone and turned it on directly. The person on the other end of the phone told Fu Tingchuan that he had traced the ID of the mastermind of the kidnapping case. Fu Tingchuan saw that this ID was actually the same person who bought the murder to hit him. The main personality and the sub-personality fight, and it turns out that our delicate little master is injured. Because Zhang Luoyuo once promised to give the bracelet to the chief editor, who thought that by accident, she would give it to the deputy personality. After the boss learned that, he angrily questioned where the little master had made up for him. Zhang Luoyuo saw that Fu Tingchuan's wrist was empty and guessed that the deputy personality had been put away, so he lied that he had not done it yet. Who knew that the next moment, President Ba took out something from his pajamas pocket. It was the bracelet he had just woven last night. Zhang Luoyuo was embarrassed. She was just about to turn around, but Fu Tingchuan pinched his face and insisted on looking at himself and giving my things to others. You also said that you were not biased. You said that your 2 fingers gradually went down along the collar. See if the young master's heart is tilted to the other side. Zhang Luoyuo shyly pushed President Ba away and said that she was not biased. President Ba, who was full of sour gas, did not believe that the first time the young master made up something, he gave it to the deputy personality, but he had nothing. Speaking of this, Zhang Luoyuo suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Didn't she give her first time to President Ba? Fu Tingchuan couldn't help but swallow his Adam's apple as those memories of bone erosion flooded in. He held the young master in his arms and demanded compensation. I wanted to know what the man didn't know about you. 10 minutes later, Zhang Luoyuo stood barefoot in front of the floating window. Before he bound with the system, he was a student of the dance department. Dancing was not difficult for him. However, because Fu Tingchuan's eyes were too hot and he was a hooligan, Zhang Luoyuo suddenly regretted choosing to dance. However, with the music slowly playing, Zhang Luoyuo still danced to the beat. At first, Fu Tingchuan was still seriously appreciating this beautiful picture, but as the dancing young master kept looking back, his eyes seemed to have a small hook in them. Fu Tingchuan's Adam's apple could not help but roll heavily, but his eyes stared straight at the dancers, and then he quietly put his leg on the other leg to hide his restlessness. As the rhythm of the music came to an end, Fu Tingchuan finally couldn't help but get up and embrace the little master. Zhang Luoyuo panted and looked at President Ba. This is only for you to skip, Fu Tingchuan. In an instant, she felt her heart tremble. She was paranoid and possessive. She told him not to let little master jump to others. Then, without waiting for Zhang Luoyuo to answer, she picked her up and walked to the bathroom to take a shower. The first time the young master delivered food to his husband, he was not only locked up with chains on his hands and feet, she even dressed him in women's clothes and felt him rubbing something back and forth on his ankle. Zhang Luoyuo guessed that she had encountered a pervert and was waiting to be saved. It was better to think of a way to save herself first. Zhang Luoyuo rubbed the other party's position and kicked the other party between his legs. Who knows that the other party reacted quickly and quickly pinched the calf of the little young master. Zhang Luoyuo had to warn the other party to let himself go. When my husband knew, he would throw you into the sea to feed the fish. After listening to the man, he suddenly silently released his leg. Zhang Luoyuo saw that the man had a reaction, so he immediately said that his husband was very rich. I can let him give you as much as you want. Fu Tingchuan, the son-in-law, immediately asked gloomily which husband he was talking about. He wanted to know that he thought he was a son-in-law. He was not rich. Isn't the husband in Zhang Luoyuo's mouth that cute husband? Zhang Luoyuo was thinking about saving herself, so she didn't think much about it. She told her husband that Fu Tingchuan was just going to search the internet and know who he was. When she looked at Zhang Luoyuo in front of her, her face suddenly became unclear. Did the young master say his name because they were nominally partners or because he was afraid of exposing his affair with someone? Thinking that he would take off his voice changer and take out the same glasses as that person and put them on, he would like to see how similar he was to that mistress. After preparing, he reached out to untie Zhang Luoyuo's blindfold and found that her husband was right in front of him. There seemed to be no one else around except Fu Tingchuan, the tyrant. Zhang Luoyuo held back her doubts and threw herself into her husband's arms to express her fear. However, he did not notice that her husband's smiling face suddenly turned cold. Zhang Luoyuo also felt very strange when she reacted at this time. According to the old rules, Fu Tingchuan would only switch personalities after falling asleep. Why is it that when I went out this morning, it was still my son-in-law personality, and now it has become my overlord personality? I thought about Zhang Luoyuo and unconsciously asked her husband why the guild appeared here. Hearing this, son-in-law has completely understood that the young master is really mistaken for that husband. At this moment, the son-in-law can no longer control the anger in his heart. He took off his glasses and squeezed the young master's shoulder tightly. Zhang Luoyuo, you can see clearly who I am now. The man mistakenly thinks that he is being treated as a substitute by his wife, so he uses a black and crazy method to ban his wife 4 times. Zhang Luoyuo didn't know how to explain when she saw the vice personality holding the photo and asking who the adulterer was. The silence of the young master seems to the secondary personality to be calm to the adulterer. The secondary personality is angry. Calm down. So it becomes more crazy. Okay, since you don't want to talk, you can never get out of here. Zhang Luoyuo saw that he was so angry and decided to explain everything clearly. However, this pair of sub-personalities did not want to hear him suddenly pull the young master into his arms and said that he would go to the room to explain. Once gentle and considerate, the personality of the son-in-law suddenly became so violent. Zhang Luoyuo in bed seemed to realize the blessing for the first time. He looked timidly at the sub-personality and tried to explain again, but the woman's cabinet had no patience to listen to his quibble at this time. He suddenly tore off the young master's dress and attacked the people below him forcefully. By the next day, Zhang Luoyuo, who was completely weak, had become tearless. If this goes on, he's gonna die in this world, and he's not gonna be able to talk to his alter ego, and he's still threatening him, and he's not gonna be able to talk to anyone else, or I'm gonna kill him right in front of you. Angry Zhang Luoyuo decided to let him be. Looking at the woman's pavilion standing still, Zhang Luoyuo felt wronged and tears flowed down her face. He didn't expect that the usually innocent sub-personality would be so evil and domineering. Fu Tingchuan would hug him and coax him afterwards. However, this sub-personality would only put on a dirty face and stabilize Zhang Luoyuo. She got out of bed hatefully. He was about to push her away when he realized something was flowing out of his back. Zhang Luoyuo was so angry that she scolded the other party for not helping her clean up her sub-personality, but she did not know how to change it. Instead, she was unhappy and said, "Why can't I stay inside if he can?" She also told Zhang Luoyuo that they would stay here until she completely forgot about that man. Zhang Luoyuo was too lazy to explain in a short story. I picked up my phone and handed over the information of the dual personality to the sub-personality. At first, I thought it was the information of the young master. Zhang Luoyuo was so angry that she laughed until the person with double personality was you. Weren't you always curious about who the adulterer was who cheated on you was? You, Fu Tingchuan, cheated on yourself. 1 second, the man is punishing his cheating wife on C, and the next second, he is told that his adulterer is himself. When the second personality learns that he has a double personality, his first reaction is to go to the doctor and completely erase the main personality. The doctor did not expect that the two personalities would have such a consistent idea, but a rash personality wipe could have unintended consequences. So he suggested that the sub-personality contact the main personality to solve the problem of body dominance, but the sub-personality did not expect the main personality to want to get rid of itself. He looked up at the eavesdropping young master. If we were destined to leave only one person behind, who would you want to live with? Would you leave me because you like him? Zhang Luoyuo, who was originally very arrogant, immediately fell down after hearing it. You know, Fu Tingchuan's two personalities love him very much, so he doesn't want to see them fight to the death for this. Chong Chong, the opposite personality, asked Zhang Luoyuo to scold him as a fool. In his eyes, you are him. You exist together. This body is originally a person, and he didn't want to see any of Fu Tingchuan's personalities born. Only then did he realize that he misunderstood Zhang Luoyuo and remembered his rudeness last night. The woman pavilion heartache let the young master give him another chance to make up for the two people after a warm secondary personality told Zhang Luoyuo. He decided to contact the main character according to the doctor's words. After kissing the young master's forehead, he turned around and left Zhang Luoyuo. He looked at Fu Tingchuan's back and was very surprised. At the beginning, they were still arguing about killing the adulterer and wiping out the people's pavilion. Now, the deputy personality is actually willing to communicate with the master's pavilion. Therefore, Fu Tingchuan did everything for himself. Just when Zhang Luoyuo had mixed feelings in her heart, the system was pleasantly surprised to find that the host had already raised the favorability of both personalities to above 90. He knew that with the host's talent, he would soon be able to complete the mission. Zhang Luoyuo remembered this and asked if the system's favorability had reached 100. He had to leave this world. The system did not notice the host's abnormality, so it said yes, and then it gossiped that this failure was caused by the system's pursuit of a little wife for a big shot to hide his identity. The system said a lot, but Zhang Luoyuo, who was immersed in sadness, did not listen to a word. When she thought that she would never see Fu Tingchuan who would save her without hesitation, Zhang Luoyuo's tears, which she had endured for a long time, finally fell. A man wants to keep his wife from getting caught, so I had to share my wife with another man. But when he woke up, he saw his wife lying in front of him in uniform, then carefully looked at the little wife in uniform Fu Tingchuan's lips and raised a meaningful smile. Zhang Luoyuo saw that his eyes were not right and suddenly bold and bad. Sure enough, his eyes fell to the scar between the collarbones. Fu Tingchuan frowned immediately. He touched you. Zhang Luoyuo opened her mouth and wanted to explain Fu Tingchuan, but she leaned over and pasted him so that he didn't have to explain. I would completely cover him with my mark. Just when the two of them were in a good situation, they accidentally knocked over the pearl on the side. Fu Tingchuan picked up a pearl as if he had thought of something. So I immediately decided to take the young master to play a fun game when the cold and swollen Zhang Luoyuo was full. Fu Tingchuan's body is occupied by the sub-personality again. Looking at the awkward posture between the two people, needless to say, the sub-personality can guess what the two are doing. Zhang Luoyuo saw that the sub-personality's expression was not good, and just wanted to explain who thought about it, but a few pearls slipped out of the group. The deputy personality immediately blushed. Do you know what would have happened if I hadn't changed back? Zhang Luoyuo also blushed and lowered her head without saying anything. The deputy personality quickly held her in his arms to comfort her. Don't be afraid, he won't do such a crazy thing like the main personality. Just think that Zhang Luoyuo thinks that the secondary personality will be more normal than the main personality. Whoever thought that after 5 minutes, Zhang Luoyuo would be so scared that she shouted, "Don't come over." The deputy personality holds a furry tail in his hand, but he smiles gently on his face. "Baby, bring it yourself or bring your husband to help you." Zhang Luoyuo did not expect that the son-in-law is also a strange pervert in terms of fun. Sure enough, there was no good thing for a dog man. I don't know. Many people had already lost their strength. Zhang Luoyuo had to lean against the man's arms and cry. When the sub-personality heard this, he immediately felt that it was funny. Obviously, the main personality ran after eating. How can he blame him? Speaking of this sub-personality, he suddenly wanted to know who was better than the main personality, so he pressed the soft young master in his arms again. Why don't you be the judge and see who's better, me or him? In order to prove that their sea skills are superb, the men will directly torture the young master as a referee. Looking at the little wife who is in pain, the tears are hazy, the vice personality is unhappy, and the angry urine is the main personality. I don't feel sorry for Luo at all. The boss looked at the props on the side and couldn't help but sneer. You actually felt sorry for the tail on the sofa. Didn't you bring it over? The second personality doesn't think so. The young master is his wife. They should do whatever they want. The main personality is open and asks why he is your wife. I met Luo first, that is, his first time, and also my sub-personality knew that the other party was deliberately provoking himself, but for the sake of the young master, he decided to make a 3-chapter agreement with the main personality not to touch his sick wife again. The boss subconsciously wanted to retort, but when he saw the young master's pale face, he had to harden his face. As Zhang Luoyuo's body gradually recovered, Fu Tingchuan took the young master to the seaside for a walk. On the way, he met his friend Qin Shu and told him that the young master of the Bei family had come back from the night. I'm looking for you to take over now. Fu Tingchuan's foot looks indifferent and says that he doesn't like young master Bei. Only Luo is his favorite person. Speaking of this, Fu Tingchuan remembered that the young master had been following him without a name, so he immediately called and booked a yacht. He blindfolded Zhang Luoyuo and took her to the yacht. Zhang Luoyuo was pleasantly surprised to find that 2 small dolphins jumped out of the sea. As soon as he turned to look at Fu Tingchuan, he saw that he suddenly knelt down and took out a ring. Zhang Luoyuo's heart skipped a beat, as if she suddenly realized what was going to happen. Sure enough, the next moment, Fu Tingchuan confessed to the young master with deep feelings. He's been alone for as long as he can remember, fighting his way out of here until I met you. We're married, but I owe you a proposal and a wedding, so baby, will you marry me? The poor young master has followed the paranoid boss for many years, but he has been nameless and has no points in order to be able to justify together. President Fu Tingchuan finally proposed to Zhang Luoyuo. At this time, Zhang Luoyuo was happily looking at the ring on her finger, but he didn't want to suddenly hear an argument coming from the bedroom. He slowly leaned over and listened. It turned out that the sub-personality was arguing with the main personality because of the proposal, but in order to provoke the sub-personality, he kept describing the scene of his proposal and kiss with Luo. After listening to it, the deputy personality suddenly sneered and said as if he had never kissed before. The two of them quarreled because of the number of kisses. Zhang Luoyuo listened for a moment and sneaked out. According to the usual practice, no matter which personality comes out later, it should not be in a good mood, so he rushed to the kitchen to make some delicious food they like to eat and prepare for the hair. After a while, Fu Tingchuan came out and held the young master in his arms. Do you like him or me more? If it was me who proposed to you today, would you agree faster? Zhang Luoyuo did not expect that the first to come out would be the son-in-law personality. Seeing that her hands were getting more and more unruly, Zhang Luoyuo quickly handed over the soup that had just been served. Then he began to explain that he could not explain this problem because to him, no matter which personality is a part of Fu Tingchuan, I love you is to love all of you. Fu personality immediately revealed a smile after listening to him. He pulled the young master and ran outside to look at the colorful fireworks outside. Before the young master could appreciate it properly, the deputy personality suddenly called out to him. He held flowers in his hand and confessed to the young master affectionately. In the past, I misunderstood the young master. In the past, I always thought that I was someone else's substitute and used him to amuse me. Later, I realized that the young master really cared about me, although he was only a secondary personality. But he has a purpose, too. I love you, Lolo. I hope you'll give me a chance to be your husband, okay? The boy finally married into a rich family after all the hardships, but on the wedding day, he was not happy. When Zhang Luoyuo saw that her husband's favorable impression of her was about to be filled, she knew that the time she left him was getting closer and closer. Everyone at the wedding scene laughed and laughed, but Zhang Luoyuo was lonely and hid in the room. When I think of leaving my husband Zhang Luoyuo soon, I can't help but feel sad. The system can only comfort the host. Don't be sad. After completing all the tasks in the world, he can return here again. Zhang Luoyuo felt a little better when she heard the system say this. Fu personality, who pushed the door in, saw the young master's face and asked him what was wrong. Do you not like the wedding he prepared with the main character? Zhang Luoyuo is afraid that they are worried, so he lied that it is too much. He is a little nervous. The second personality gently comforted the young master, and then explained that since he did not know the guests, the main personality would accompany him when he entered the ceremony. Who knew that as soon as his voice fell, his young master suddenly barged in and stole the wedding. In order to let Fu Tingchuan marry his young master, he did not hesitate to use half of his family property as a dowry to lure each other. Who knew that Fu Tingchuan couldn't help but be unmoved and even threatened him with evidence of their crimes. My young master didn't expect Fu Tingchuan to be so merciless for Zhang Luoyuo. Since he is so ruthless, no one can get what he can't get. As the wedding ceremony reached its climax, Fu Tingchuan's favorability reached 100 perfectly. Zhang Luoyuo was about to follow the system and slowly withdraw from this world. At this time, Zitang broke in again and caused trouble. He pulled out his pistol and pointed it angrily at the two men. He had to send them to hell before he left. Zhang Luoyuo subconsciously stood in front of Fu Tingchuan and shot through the young master's body. Before Fu Tingchuan could react, Zhang Luoyuo had fallen in front of him.